Thank you. Taylor, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
What was the conversation like?
It was very. I didn't want to get emotional, but I was just thankful. But like Woody was smiling the whole time, CY and JD as well. But yeah, it was definitely it was good to hear. But I mean, like I said, I just sat there. I was just so happy, just so thankful.
Sharing the news with your family, what was that like?
It was huge. Mom, dad, sister, everybody was emotional. But they enjoyed it though. But I'm thankful, and I think mom wasn't expecting it, so she was the one who got a little bit more emotional. But I mean, it's part of it. Aren't all moms like that?
They are. When you look back at your journey and what you've gone through to get here, how much more special does that make it? It's not like this has been easy.
No, it hasn't. I think it's just the beginning though, and I'm just riding the wave and just like I said, just really thankful for it. But more so, I mean, trying to use, I guess, my platform and everything that God's given me just to give back and hopefully inspire other kids that had a bad debut, or just let them know like, hey, like just because of how you start doesn't mean that's how you're gonna finish. So, and then for me to be able to say, that year 2019 that you're like, hey, you're gonna be the opening, you're gonna be the home opener one day. And I was like, I wouldn't believe you. I'd be like, no, I got a long way to go. So, but I'm very thankful though.
Did you ever go to any Rangers opening days when you were growing up?
No, I couldn't. I didn't actually because school, but then also I went to a bunch of games though. I went to a ton of them. So I mean, I've seen like Chris Davis, big Josh Hamilton fan. So like I've seen a lot of them guys, and and like I said, I've always pictured and wondered like what would it be like to play for my hometown team, but like. I was like, man, it's probably a slim chance of so many major league teams to get drafted by. So, but no, it's been great though. It's been surreal, and I'm happy because I really want kids that are from Dallas to use me to see that a kid from their area can do it as well.
Good. Thank you, Taylor.
Last one, not a normal last one. I mean, you still have work to do. How did it go?
It was all right. I guess the results were okay, but I still feel like I kind of worked behind hitters for the most part. I kind of battled some stuff mechanically, but and next week that's got to go out the window and it's just compete. But there's still some work to do, and I think things are going to get better, which is great. But still, the downside is I got behind a lot, and pitch count was kind of up. So I'd like to be more efficient.
Is that slider? How did it feel?
The slider feels good. I definitely feel like I can make people miss it, which is, where I want it to be. But I think the fastball command helped it a lot today. It got better as the game went on, and it made it a weapon. So, I thought the mix was really good all around.
Was the slider the outpitch on all 6 Ks you had, do you think?
I believe so, yes.
So, John, the fact that you've only gone 4, right? I mean, typically in spring you probably get a 5th inning at some point in time, right? Well, last spring. Do you have to fight at all the idea that, look, you are ready for the regular season? This is just not a regular season. If that makes sense. Do you have to fight that at all?
A little bit, but I always feel like once I get to that 4 or 5 inning mark, then it's kind of like let it go, and I feel like I'm good to go 8 from there. So, I didn't feel like I was gassed at the end and I couldn't pitch anymore. But the more innings, the better, and you get to kind of feel your body out as the game goes on. So it was nice to be able to feel that today. But, I think, I don't know. I'm not sure what the pitch count's going to look like. But, I'm prepared to go 8.
And you didn't go down to the bullpen and throw any extras, did you?
No. Luckily, not luckily. The pitch count was up enough today, so I got plenty of work in.
Okay, all right.
But compared to a normal spring, are you where you want to be? Is everything where it should be as far as mechanics, command? Are you still working on things?
I wouldn't say things are completely crisp. I still feel like I'm yank a few here, yank a few there, and that'll go away, as the season goes on. But I really think I can take a next step this next week and work some kinks out in this bullpen. So in between, so I think I'm taking the right strides right now, and I know we only had so much time to get ready, but I still feel like we took steps each week, and I'll be ready to cut it loose.
Everybody's in the same boat.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like
Everybody except for Scherzer, right? I mean, yeah, that's true. We all kind of dealt with the shortened spring, so I don't think I'll be the only guy that maybe might not throw 100 pitches the first time out.
Hey, guys. What's your turn?
No, I was going to say
Tell any relief pitchers.
Yeah, we told Allard he's on as a relief, in the bullpen, and Matt Bush told him. Barlow, I think was pretty easy, but yeah, told those guys.
Barlow is?
Mhm.
Barlow, Bush, and Allard.
Yeah, just officially. Outside of all the ones that were probably apparent, King, Spores, Santana, all those guys. But yeah, Bush was pretty excited. He's putting in a lot of work. Told Culberson he's on the team as well.
So Allard, Bush, Culberson?
Yes.
We'll just go alphabetical.
Yeah, and we did tell Matt Carpenter he will not be on our opening day roster.
And there were no revelations about that, right? I mean,
No. I mean, listen. I mean, I appreciate what he's done for our team in a short amount of time. Just from a leadership aspect, been willing to put in a lot of work, and we saw glimpses of the 3-time All-Star, and if we have a spot in AAA where we can get at bats, he'd be open to that, and you never know.
so it's not definitive that he's going to go to Round Robin?
No, not definitive yet. I think we have to kind of wait to see how things play out with the rest of our roster.
Okay.
Just to see what kind of opportunity we actually have for him,
Okay.
as far as at bats and how much he's going to play. And as a guy with 10 years in the big leagues, a 3-time All-Star, it's like we don't want to, steer him any way that we just can't
Right.
give that to him just yet
You've
until
got
we
2 third
solidify the
basemen
roster.
around Rock, right? And Wenzel and Smith.
Yeah.
And you've got a first baseman, Apostle's ready to go, right?
hmm
And he's going to need at bats there.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just a matter of how much can he play every week.
Right.
So once we get that, we'll make sure we're really honest with him. Tell him he still wants to play. He still feels like he's got a lot left in the tank. And the way we're looking at it is, if we have a need or if somebody struggles and he's killing it with his experience, if what we see is good and he can help us, we'll bring him. Be pretty valuable.
So the multi-inning options in the bullpen that you have as of this moment are Allard,
Mm-hmm.
Richards,
Mm-hmm. Burke.
Burke, and Abreu.
Yeah, Abreu can go. Yeah. Yeah.
King.
When's Abreu supposed to get here?
King can. I think we're going to be a little bit careful with King. I mean, yes, he can. And I think I don't see that right from the beginning, though. We haven't really built him up to do it, but I think as the season goes on, yes, 100%. I'm sure he can get 3 outs in like 6 pitches.
King's
So
on
going
the
multiple
team.
innings might be 20 pitches.
King is definitely on the team.
Yes.
And Patton?
Not yet. Yeah. That's there's probably one more, I guess, if we're going to go 10. You can do the math.
so. You have 9 locked in. You think,
Yeah.
that you've
Yeah.
announced?
Yeah.
No, you're first for sure.
Well, with with Culberson and Bush both making the team, have you informed anybody with a roster spot yet
That they.
that they don't have a roster spot any longer?
No, and that's I guess that's a question for JD or CY. That's their department, but we have not.
Do you still not want a 60-day Leclerc?
No, because we think he's going to be ready before that. I think that's why we're Jonathan. I think his timeline made sense to go 60, but we still can, depending on what happens. I think we're internally still discussing that, but I think an extra week of Leclerc, especially if he's full go, would be pretty nice to have. Be a pretty good addition come sometime in May.
So if I'm doing the math right, are Spores and Patton competing for that last spot?
No. Yeah, I mean, we have other options, like there's a few guys.
But among the guys who are competing for that last spot, neither one of them has been told they're on the team?
No, Sporzy has. There's just one spot where we may IL someone, so just to start the season, and I'm not going to say who.
All right, wait, so
So I'm
you
counting
said there are,
That's why there's 9.
there are 9 guys that are locked in, right?
Yeah, but one of them may start on the IL.
Okay,
The
I'm
one
counting
that, the one that
10.
you already told us of the 9
Yeah.
catching.
Is Santana?
And I can't tell you.
We don't know about
He's
Santana yet. Is that-
he's on.
he's
Yeah.
a- Okay, so I'm counting 10 guys.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. One of those 10
Well,
guys
one of the 10 guys
will not be.
might
yeah.
be on the IL.
Yeah.
Got it.
And not because they're hurt. It's more of a build-up thing.
Good Lord.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Numbers.
You said you have 10 guys there?
Pause. Can you,
Yeah.
can you PowerPoint this next
No.
We gotta work it out.
Yeah.
time? Okay.
You have told 10 guys that they will make the team. One of them might open the season on the IL.
Yes. That's all I'm giving you.
Well, then what's left? The last outfield spot?
Yeah.
And then this injured guy.
No, he's not injured. I just thought I clarified that. He's not injured. He's just,
Injured
we're
list.
making sure he's, yeah. We're building him up.
Which would open a spot for one more pitcher to be told that he's,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. I'm there, I got it.
I'm a visual person. I need a.
I'm working on it. So like
Good luck,
King,
guys.
on King losing the 20 pounds that he told us the other day,
Mhm.
have you seen anything different, positive? I mean, I'm sure not negative, but what have you noticed in his game at all now that he's dropped 20 pounds? Anything change?
No, he looks good. Like he looks, his body's moving good. His, flexibility, mobility, like everything is really good. I think it was just a conversation we had with him. He put so much time and effort into his workouts that maybe he was a little bit too bulky. I think the thoracic issue, caused some, the nerve, was kind of blocked there. And once that kind of freed up, he just said, okay, you know what, like I want to move better. And as a pitcher, it's like the better he can move down the mound, the better it is on his arm and, his body. So he's in a good spot. The ball's still coming out good. He feels good. He's been recovering. That was probably the biggest issue, was just how can he recover? Because that was something that he didn't do as well. And I think it had a lot to do with the thoracic issue. But right now he's in a really good place.
And then on Brock Burke, velocity was up, has been up at least when he was from 19. Looks like he's up about 2 miles an hour. So
Yeah.
is that accurate to you? And is
Yeah.
that because of the full recovery, the rehab? Is it because of shorter outings? What do you make of the increased velocity?
Yeah, I think it's just the work he's put in over the last couple of years, to be honest with you. I think the bounce back from, he came back last year, but, when you have surgery and you're coming out of rehab, sometimes it takes a little while. Sometimes it takes a year to kind of get fully back. I think just all the work he's put in, we kind of always saw it there before, but, the added velo is just, I think it's just a product of the work that he's put in to get there. Like I said, it's that rehab process. It's your whole body that you take care of. He's in a really good place right now, and it's showing with the stuff he's throwing out there.
Is there a pitcher or two that sticks out to you that has benefited the most, maybe from some of Sags' stuff when it comes to grip adjustments, changes on attack angle, the things that he digs in? Are there guys that are breaking camp that are maybe stuck out the most from any adjustments they made with him?
In a short amount of time, it's tough to say. It's actually like, a guy like Matt Moore, who's, not going to be on our team, but at the same time, like some of the shapes that he changed, John Gray, with his slider. Mm-hmm. Some of these guys, Dane Dunning, they have multiple sliders that they use now, one being the bigger one and one being the shorter one. And, they can command them both. And there's consistency, I think, in the shapes. That's always the hardest thing as a pitcher. If you can consistently put it where you want, knowing that, hey, it's going to break this much every time, as opposed to sometimes backing up and going that way. But those two guys kind of stand out right now. But I think everybody's been touched by him. Him and obviously Sags and Doug do a really good job of explaining that and presenting that to the guys and getting buy-in, honestly. And they see it in their bullpens. They see it on the field. Because it comes down to execution. If you can execute. You see Joe Barlow, like last year, he was probably our best guy at executing. Reason why he was closing games for us. Adding the slider, was huge for him. The stuff has always been there. A lot with a lot of guys. There's a lot of stuff out there now, but it's about putting it where you want to. Maximizing your stuff is the key.
Last one on that real quick, the horizontal slider seems to be the talk of,
Yeah.
the Astros were doing it a couple of years ago. They seemed the first one that said it's okay to get on the side of the ball and sweep it.
Yeah.
We used to say that was too big and sloppy, but that seems to be the trend. What is the counter for that, since it's becoming so popular offensively?
For
For your hitters.
the
Knowing that
hitters,
they're seeing more of these
keeping
wide
it. So if,
sliders.
if we're facing a guy like that, we got to keep that ball close to us. It's got to pop like, in a lane that's closer to us on the, if it's a right-handed pitcher and we're right-handed, like it's got to start arm side. If it starts anywhere middle or, almost middle in, just we got to let it go. The biggest thing is, I was like, if John Gray's throwing that pitch along with his short slider, it makes it really tough because you're not sure. You see that ball spinning, and you're not sure if it's going to go that way or if it's going to go down. So it may start in your lane and then end up in the strike zone. But if you're checking it off because you're waiting for it to start here, and then he throws the short one and it actually stays, it's pretty effective. And you saw that with Gibby and even Jordan Lyles at the end of last year. They added that. He had the multiple sliders, and it was tough. It makes it really tough on an opposing hitter and coach to game plan against because they're just unique.
So they're the same speed. That's how they.
Yeah, they're very similar. It's almost like
so,
auto.
So it's not like some of them's not. They're not. I'm trying to differentiate between slider and curveball. If you have two.
Yeah, I mean the two sliders are different because they some of them have the slider that just goes straight down like Gray. Even Dunning has one that kind of just goes down. The curveball, clearly, like Otto has a curveball and a slider that are similar speeds. The sliders tick faster, like mile per hour faster, but one's pretty horizontal and one's vertical. So that's pretty easy to tell the difference as a hitter because you see one pop out of the hand and come down, the other one just sweeps across. But the slider that actually starts in the same lane and just spins like a slider but just goes down, and the other one that actually like sweeps across, that's hard for a hitter to differentiate. It comes out of the same lane, the same tunnel. The curveball usually pops up most of the time.
Can I ask you a fastball question?
Yeah.
In Abreu, you added a guy who throws 98.
Yeah.
Matt Bush throws 97. You just talked about Brock Burke throwing 96, 97. How evident to you was it last year that your bullpen lacked power?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely, at times didn't have the guy to go upper 90s. Sporzy, obviously. Santana can hit upper 90s. But I think in the role that we use Santana, you didn't see it as much. I mean, he still threw hard. But I think just maximizing those guys. Sporzy's, got closer stuff. Obviously, this Sprague kid. And they're all unique fastballs, which is cool. I just look at the mix that we have with those power arms. No two guys are the same. Bushy and Sporzy maybe are close because they both have two breaking balls with the power fastball, but Bush's release height is totally different than Spores. He's like throwing from 3 feet off the ground as opposed to Spores, who throws at a higher. So we just have a lot of uniqueness and a lot of ability to, Abreu has a good changeup as opposed to the slider that the other guys have. So we have an ability to kind of match up with power arms according to the opposing hitters. It's going to be pretty fun to watch.
But you needed more power.
Everybody does. I mean, I think that's, velo matters. It's harder to hit the faster it comes. And like I said, especially if we're executing and to CJ's point, like if we can get these guys to maximize their pitches and be consistent, especially with their second best pitch, these relievers, we're not asking our relievers to be 4-pitch pitchers. Sporzy has 2 breaking balls, but typically each hitter has a weakness, whether it's a slider or a curveball. And I don't expect Sporzy to use all of them, to each hitter. We need to maximize their strengths and attack guys.
Like it would be good to, in a late inning situation, runners on base, be able to get a strikeout.
Yeah,
Get a swing and miss.
swing and miss is huge, man. It's like, I know it frustrates the fans, but it's our industry. When you don't have, it's 100% of the time, unless it goes to the backstop. But ball in play, there's always a chance. There's always a chance that ball could find a hole, or it could be a blooper, it could be a weak ground ball. King gets a lot of weak ground balls on that. So that's been definitely one of our focuses on the pitching staff. Is when we are ahead of hitters, like, let's get swing and miss, let's wipe them out, and knowing.
And you can do that with a fastball.
And you can do that with slider. I mean, you can do that with just executing pitches. Right. So knowing your strengths and saying, okay, I'm not just going after contact here. I'm not trying to get weak contact in a 1-2 count. I'm trying to wipe them out. I think that has to be our mentality because we have the stuff to do it. And I'm not saying like, hey, throw 3 balls in the dirt here to try to get him to chase. I'm talking about executing a pitch that we know, whether that's just in the strike zone or just out of the strike zone. It's a strike to ball pitch, or it's a high fastball, which we need to use more, which we didn't utilize as much. And maybe that was because of the lack of velo.
If you think back to last year, right? You think back to the second half, right? Guys have now started to have a little bit of fatigue. Late inning situations, relievers, would you say you could count the number of swings and misses on power fastballs on one hand?
Last year? I don't know if it's one hand, but yeah, I don't know. Joe did a pretty good job of that. But it's definitely been an emphasis this year. It's been an emphasis coming into camp. Last year, I think, we had a young team, young staff. We obviously had made an adjustment from the year before to say, hey, I don't want to see this, ball four every time. We walked away too many guys. We said, hey, we need to learn to throw the ball in the strike zone. We need to have trust that we can get people out in the strike zone. But I think this year where there's higher expectation of saying, okay, when you're ahead in the count, we're not trying to, we heard that a few times from guys where in a 1-2 count they hung a slider because they're like, I didn't want to walk him. Never heard of a guy walking on a 1-2 count. It's not possible. You know what I mean? Like, let's execute the pitch. And I'm not saying I'd rather have him miss off the plate 2 feet. Listen, you're a major league pitcher, and the standards are a little higher. The expectations are a little higher. You should be able to execute consistently, whether that's down and away or just off the plate. That's what elite pitchers do, and that's what elite bullpen arms do. That's what the good teams are doing. So we have to up that. So the fact that we have a lot of options in that, it's pretty nice.
And last thing, just on pick a number, right? Is the league average in your mind for a fastball 94?
I don't know.
What makes an above average fastball in terms of velo at this point?
I think it's different. I think it's different for everybody. There are some guys that throw 97 and they don't have elite fastball characteristics, and that might sound weird, but if they have short extension, they open up. There's the visual for the hitter is pretty easy to see. Right. The vertical movement is 14 inches. It's a flat fastball. It doesn't have a ton of horizontal. It doesn't have a ton of whatever. And if it's just average, you'll get hit if you throw it over the middle of the plate. Now, if you have, you could throw 92, but if you have 22 inches of vertical on it with something elite characteristic where there's some deception, it's got some sink, it's got some cut, some outlier pitch, that's typically. But the velo, even if it is flat, 97 is harder to hit than 92.
Marcus Evans, right?
Yes.
So Matt Bush, he struggled, I remember a couple of years ago, with the idea of elevating his fastball. Is he confident that? You talked about his lower arm angle. Is he confident doing it and elevating the fastball?
It's definitely aware of it.
Yeah.
There's some, when we talked to him today, that was something that we brought to his. I mean, he's been working on it, but that's like the next step in him becoming an elite arm, is if he can elevate the fastball, because he's got such good command down at 98, 99. With a really good slider, really good curveball. He's got a nasty cut. He throws a cutter like 95. And he's really good at keeping the ball down. But if everything is down, hitters can set their sights down there. It's an easier ball to just barrel, if you just drop the head on it. But anytime a guy goes up, especially with that velo, and he's got elite characteristics up, like vertical, because of his arm, angle, it's tough to hit if he executes it. But, he's always had trouble trying to go up in the past.
Like he didn't believe in it either.
Well, because he loves to get down on top of the ball. So it's like, everything he does is like down. And that's how he gets the movement, believe it or not, to get the ball to kind of rise. It's because he's thinking down and it spins the ball really well. When he throws it up, he kind of pushes it and it doesn't have the same characteristics. And a lot of times it doesn't get up. It actually stays flat. But he's definitely into it, and he knows that that's like the last piece.
I think it was there last night a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely trying. I know Garv gives him the high target a lot. They're trying to, if he does that, I mean, he'll get a ton of swing and miss, because what it'll do is set their sights up here now. Now he can paint down there, and you can't cover both, especially at that velo.
Well, Garrett Richards, now he's a full-time reliever. If there's going to be any changes to his repertoire? Is he going to drop a pitch? Or?
He added the changeup, which,
Okay.
I know from last year he added it, and what we saw the other day was pretty impressive with that changeup, especially to the left-handed hitters. So it was,
Full 4-pitch mix for him, right?
Yeah.
I believe, yeah.
Yeah,
So that-
and the velo was still mid-90s, still coming out pretty good. He had pretty good command, but that changeup's a game changer for him, because it kind of opens up a little bit of a triangle approach. Before, everything was moving away from the righty into the lefty, and you can kind of bank on that. Whereas now he's got a pitch moving away from the lefty. It makes it really tough, especially if he's throwing a little cutter in there, or, still got the velo to beat guys.
So on Friday, when you guys are in a safe situation in the ninth inning, Is Joe Barlow?
I like your talk right now. Yep.
Joe Barlow's your guy.
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say yes or no. I mean, we're going to look at where the roster is, and we'll figure it out from there. We'll figure out what our best matchup is, honestly. We'll do some internal. I don't think it's a situation where I may come out and say that before that game, but I can't tell you right now.
So right now
Who
you don't have a
else?
closer.
I mean, we have a lot of guys that can close, but I don't think we have a quote-unquote closer.
You don't have Trevor Hoffman. You don't have.
Yeah,
Who,
exactly.
who are those guys? Is it Barlow, Bush, Spores? Is that it? Who else
Yeah.
may do that?
Yeah. Holland, if
Oh, yeah.
he were on the team, yeah.
You have not informed Holland of his status?
No.
All right. Alphabetical order.